Right, today we're going to start with a beginning drawing class. All you need is a bit of plain printing paper and a board, and try to keep it vertical because it's easier to work. And always work, I'm left-handed, so I have my work facing the shoulder, my left shoulder, rather than facing myself, so that my arm is perpendicular to the paper. And we're going to start with some very quick scribbles. So take your crayon and do anything you want. Do anything you want. Make big circles, squigglies, anything you want. Just scribble. Scribble all over the paper, right across. Make a big X. Make little squiggles like this. Make circles. Anything you want. Do that a few times, just to loosen up, and then you cover the whole paper, right? Edge to edge. You can go anywhere with it. You can even frame it, right? Okay, we do a few scribbles. You can even turn over the paper. We're not going to keep these unless you really want to. And now we'll do some scribbles, but let's do scribbles circular. Now I'm left-handed. You could be facing the other way, and you can go in any direction. Now you can go backwards like that. Scribbles. Round scribble, big ones, little ones, long ones, round ones, round scribbles. Right? Okay, that's another kind of scribble. Throw that down below. What this is leading to is to be able to use your arm, and to use your arm in a way that might create springs. So since it's spring, make some springs. Big ones. Let your arm go like that, Springs. Use the whole paper. We don't care what it looks like. We're just practicing a little bit of movement, right? Little ones that go very close together. Right? Up and down springs. Okay, do a few of them. Springs. You get your arm making that form, that kind of elliptical form. Wait a minute, we get the other side. There, comes the other side. I'll use some wasting paper. Okay, now we're going to take that idea and we're going to formalize it. We're going to control it a bit, okay? So, if we do some lines that go down, you can now do those kind of springs, but keep them from here to here, for example. And so start it going, but this time let's not touch the paper yet. Just make the movement. You see my pencil is close by. You can keep it really close by, so you can land anytime you want, right? And just drop the pencil, but make the movement and be ready to drop the pencil. And when you feel that the movement is right, then you can start. Make those springs right inside that line. Oh, I'm not doing too well. Big ones from here, even to here. Get the movement going. See that movement? Whole arm is doing it, not the wrist. The wrist is not moving at all. The whole arm is pretty much holding still like a compass. And it's the shoulder that's taking it. See? It comes from the shoulder. From the rotule of the shoulder. Right? Little ones. Get the movement first. Maybe a big round kind of ellipse. Round springs. Skinny ones. Right? Don't worry about perfection. Just play around, See if you can go up right? The reason for this is that we're going to start trying to make forms. We're going to try and make forms with line, right? We're not going to start working from a model yet, but what one can do is start to come down here and make a form that's very simple, which is pretty universal, and that's a circle. Okay? We're not going to use a compass, but you're going to use your arm, your shoulder. The rotule in your shoulder is that part of the compass that will guide you. Okay, the arm, make the movement first, right? And then send the crayon down when you feel like you have to. And yeah, you can, right? Right? You could work this way if you want. If you want to have the arm free to make the movement and to see it happening, you can even skid on the surface. Your pencil is so close that you can do that. So. Right? Circles. Do lots of them. Do a big one. You know, from here to here, right in the middle of the page. Really try and make the idea of circle. Okay? Now if you can get your hand doing that, then you don't have to have a lot of instruments around. You're just doing sketching to begin with. You want to create ideas with a few lines. You don't want to spend a lot of time, so it's good to be able to do it like that. Okay, do lots of circles. Each of these you can do quite a lot of times, you know, till you really feel it. And you can go in the opposite direction. You don't have to go clockwise. You can go anti-clockwise. If you're right-handed, you probably will. But, you know, it depends on how you like it. I usually like to push over the top in the direction opposite my hand. You know, pushing. Whereas, there's no reason you can't go back the other way. And so now, what are we going to do with this circle? Let's put it at the bottom of a page. Right? And put lines on either side of it. Now this is how you would see this roll of tape if it was on the floor at your feet. Right? So we'll call this place here feet. Right? That's at your feet, or foot. Right? And then if this is on the floor at your feet, what if it's at your eye level? At your eye level, it'd be up here, and you'd only see a line for the top edge, right? That's the top edge of your roll of tape. And that, we will say, is at eye level, or the horizon. Okay? Horizon, eye level. That's why it's a line. Now what we want to do is find the form in between this and that in all of its different positions. And you have a roll of tape, you have a jar, anything, you know, even a cup. You know, the top of a cup will make an ellipse and it's round. Okay, so let's try one in the middle. Now in the middle would be, you could look at it like this and judge, you know, how much is the distance. But we're not going to do measuring, we're just going to do a feeling for what it is. Let's say that I'm looking at this, you know, and I'll do a feeling for what it is. It's somewhere like that, and I'm using my arm to make the ellipse. If I go up higher, then what happens is you have an ellipse that is smaller. So we'll start just by trying a few ellipses, and then another one higher up, and then another one higher up, and you finally bring it up to where it's aligned. So, right? And then you can put the model there and you can play with it. And what you want to do is, eventually, you have an object like this, right? And put an invisible line right through the center, the axis of the center of that, and we'll put that line there, right? Now, how wide do you want to be? How big do you want the picture to be? It can be a small picture of this and you just do lines like that, or it could be large, larger than life. Now, you decide, but you know, something like that, halfway between the line, right? And then you can draw a few lines there if you want. And now you can start your ellipses, right? Just start them. Feel that out. Later we can measure between here and here, you know, all that. But let's start just by doing that. Now, if you're looking at the ellipse the way I am, I see that there. The inside bottom edge is seen through the tape, okay? So we could use that as a measure, and we're here, and we try to make it similar to this. It actually would be slightly larger, because it's lower in our field of vision, right? Now we have these ellipses, and we can decide that we'll keep, what part would you keep? Keep from here to here. So you could put more pressure there when you're drawing, you know. And then this is more prominent. And then you have the two sides. So you have your ellipse, you have your form. After, it's just a question of making maybe a thickness, right? Finding the back, right here and here. You can put your pencil on the edge of a point and pull it out. On the edge of a point and pull it out. And you can also use your hand, the knuckles, to guide it if you're holding the pencil like this, or if it could guide it if you're very good, you know, you could put that there, guide it like that. I prefer to have my knuckle against the page, have contact with the page to be able to raise and lower the pencil, and just, right? You could do it longer, you could do it shorter, right? So you can make concentric curves, right, like that. That's another way to do it. But here, we're just beginning to create something. If I'm closer to me, the circle is bigger, I'm looking down into it. It might be like that, almost a circle. And the other one would be well down here, out of the page. So you have that problem of the simple ellipse, the simple form, which has an elliptical aspect and a cylindrical aspect, the cylinder. Little plane geometry. So this is a way to get involved in still life, but it can also work for anatomy, because before you might put the muscles, you might want to find the points at which they change direction and have small to large and have form, right? And then you can find muscle groups. So you have points of central points. It's the same as this. Central point, central axis, the skeletal axis. Okay? Now that I've made a mess, I'll turn it over. And now that we have that idea of the ellipse, let's put it in perspective. Okay? Now, perspective, what is that? We're talking about something that means that you're looking either down on a form or up on a form or sideways. You're away from the central part of the form. It's not facing you directly. And even if it's facing you directly, even if you have that, any cylinder that you're facing directly will have a perspective. And here you're looking down into the cylinder, right? You're seeing the inside, especially if it's close. As a result, every time you look at something, we're using perspective. And what kind of perspective rules are we going to use? Well, it began with a point where the idea of creating space on a two-dimensional surface could be based on the straight line. So you have a straight line. Now, this is Euclidean space. It's not going to be involved in Einsteinian, where the line, nothing is straight, everything is curved. Space is curved. Right? Light is curved by objects in the. So we're going back to Euclidean geometry, where the Earth is flat, and where at a point at this point you could come straight across and conceptually create the train tracks. Right? These are horizontal, believe it or not. Right? The train tracks, right, which get smaller and smaller, and they've worked out a way in which from 2 points. It started with 1 point where you had the house. Right. 1 point perspective would make it so that your house, right, your little house, was not really completely as real as possible, because it was very difficult to show anything that was off the axis of these lines. And when the old masters wanted to create more realism, they decided to send out more than one line, and so that you'd be able to send one this way, another this way, another this way, another this way. And you have a 2-point perspective in which you can raise verticals, right? And where you can continue that on, same way, and make cubes in 2-point perspective. So this works for cylinders as well, because once you've done that, you can put your form in, right, on its axis. You can put another form in here. And they use the cube to create the form of the circle in order to make wheels, columns,